Good afternoon, folks, and forgive the state of my attire. I've just eaten a corned beef sandwich. Most of it found its way down my shirt and what it did in my mouth. I hate crumbs only because you can't find the fuckers to eat them. Anyway, never mind. A quick one for you before I start. I was in Aldi last night. It was very funny. I went in Aldi to get some bits of shopping, and I was also in the market for some new underpants. And they had these things called hipsters, and they sort of found they were like free. They were like 3 pairs for £5. So anyway, I found a pair in my size, size 68 extra fat. So anyway, so I went to the counter with my shopping, and there's always a young girl, whenever you're buying underpants or condoms, it's always a young girl in it serving you. Anyway, and this girl, she picked the underpants up as well as my other stuff. She scanned it all through, she picked the underpants up, and she scanned them and dropped them into the trolley. And she looked at me and I said to her, I said, do you know how hard it is for a man my size to get underpants? In my size. She says, have you tried Primark's? I said, yeah, but a bit big on the waist, There was a load of people behind me waiting to be served, and everybody burst out laughing, including her. She says, I asked for that. I said, yes, love. I like having a laugh when I go shopping. I like meeting a friendly assistant that you can have a laugh with while you're parting with your money, yeah. Anyway, so I've actually got a pair around my arse now. Oh, and they fit beautiful, they fit beautiful. I remember once I tried the thong on. It was like sitting in a catapult, yeah. Yeah, but there we go. Anyway, on to today's project. We'll go just like me. I think I need to put a new flint in my lighter. I will do when I find the bastards. Right. Anyway, this is the mouse piss gramophone, mouse piss table radiogram. Sorry. As you can probably see, or might not see, yes you can see, it's missing its BSR, because that has been put away out of the way, because that has turned out lovely. In fact, the BSR now matches the front of this. It's a similar colour to the front of this. Now, what I need to do, I need to get the chassis out of this. There is actually a bottom cover that comes off, which lets you into most of the chassis to get to the components on the bottom, so that's good. But I need to get to some components on the top. So, mind you, I don't actually, because I think the smoother and reservoir, I think that's all okay. Because not really much of a hum from this, but I would like to test them. Because you know me, I like to be thorough. So I've got to get these knobs off somehow. I don't want to break them, but they've got to come off. And there's no grub screws in them, so, and the front doesn't come off before the knobs. You have to get the knobs off. So they've been on there all these years, and let's fire this thing up and see what she does. I mean, me and Steve Pendlebury turned it on a couple of weeks ago when Graham first got it, and we got something out of it. But let's see. Well, that's a sign that the valve heater chain's working, because the lights are powered from that. So obviously the valves are getting heater power. Oh, we are getting a hum. Oh, it's died off. Oh, that's not bad. That's acceptable. That, I don't know what setting we're on. We're on gram. And that's long wave.
Mark's talking about long shot. Mark talking about long shot. To which I just I know we have
Well, that's medium wave.
I think Osher Jackson Jr. as
Just turn it off a minute. Because I think there's an aerial at the back unplugged. Because we should get a bit more than that out of it, I think. Just put my glasses on. Wherever they are. My fucking glasses. It's one of those fucked if I know moments. I did see them before. Right. Well, that's the extra. That's the pickup. That's the speakers. And that's your aerial. So the aerial is actually in. So turn it back on. So that's your aerial. The aerial is actually in. Yeah, that's medium wave. I have got a noisy power supply on in the other room. Bear with me, I'll just run through, turn that off, and you'll hear the noise disappear. You'll hear the noise disappear. I'll leave the camera running while I do it. I have got a very noisy power supply connected to an external hard drive. There we go. It's gone as quiet as a mouse. Now let's see what we can get on this thing.
nailed their roles with fine support.
Well, that radio's working. So we'll go to long wave. Not much on there. Go to, oh, that's long wave. Not much on there either. So it might have a couple of soft valves in it. Now it's where's shortwave? Shortwave, oh that's shortwave. Is it? Yeah, shortwave is pointing that way, that's shortwave. Medium wave is straight up. Long wave is there. Not happening with long wave. And gram is there. So to all intents and purposes, so you know, to all intents and purposes, this thing's actually not bad. It's working.
Slightly from the genius that is Seth Rogen. Knocks it out of the park once again. Does anyone do heartfelt stoner comedy better?
Volume control's a bit crackly, but it is actually working. So I don't think I really need to pull the chassis out of this. Just give it a clean, really. So I might not have to worry about getting these knobs off. And it looks like at some point in its past that the capacitors have been replaced on the top anyway, because they look like 70s capacitors and not a 60-year-old capacitor you'd find in here. So, you know. So basically I'm going to give the controls and everything a clean, give the chassis a clean, and you know, give the where the record deck lives a clean, fit a cartridge and stylus, and you know, yeah, test it for a couple of days. The shortwave works. There's not much, you don't get much on shortwave. Medium wave works, which is what most people use anyway. Plenty of stations on there. Long wave, well, there's nothing really on there except Radio 4, but that might come back after I clean the knobs. After I clean the selector knob, that might come back, because it is only the selector knob that's dirty. So I will give that a clean. And we'll call this part 3. If I have to delve in it any further, which I will, I'll be cleaning the chassis and checking the valves. You know, I'll try different valves in it. But there's plenty of volume there, so we know that the amplifier's working well enough. You know, Graham doesn't want to spend a fortune on this, and you know, if I can do that for him, then I will. I mean, the job has to be done right, but you know, unnecessarily changing capacitors, as Shango 066 is always saying, you know, changing capacitors is not always the way. And you know, if the thing's working, then you know, don't break it if it ain't broken. So for the most part it's going to get a switch clean, and just generally all round the service really. I'd like to get the chassis out to clean behind here, but you know, and the bulbs are a bit flickery, so I'd like to tighten the bulbs up, but you know, if I can avoid taking the chassis out, because these knobs are bastards to get off and I don't want to break the knobs. I've tried getting them off by leaving 2 screwdrivers and I can't, so I don't want to break them. So, you know, I'm not going to force these knobs off if I can help it. So if I don't have to take the chassis out, that's all well and good. But anything that I might have to replace, if I just pull the plug out, anything I might have to replace, if I put it on its side, anything I might have to replace, I can get into it there. and I can work on it there because I can see the whole chassis. Dead spider or something in there. And I can get to all the knobs for cleaning. Everything's in there, everything's there accessible pretty much that I need to get to do any repairs, so any remedial work. So you know, but it has actually you know, it's actually not, you know, it's not as bad. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit and give you a proper look at the inside of the chassis. There you are. You know, it all looks pretty good in there. And the original filter, there's not a hole for it, so it didn't come through there. But it's got, if I can turn it round, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it. Turn the unit round. And I think my radio control tripod's dead as well. Let's just see if I can find the. Oh, I can't see the remote for it. Never mind. It needs charging up. That it's been left switched on for days. It's gone dead. So we'll zoom out. There we are. You know, there's a big blue capacitor behind this valve here and behind that transformer, and it looks okay. I've had a look in there and I can't see any gunge, and you know, we seem to be okay, to be perfectly honest. And I think the motor originally went to, oh no, that's a voltage selector, but I've got the deck to put back in. You know, but I think Graham's going to be pleased. It's you know, it's been resurrected. It's I'll redo these speaker wires. I'm not going to worry about the external speaker sockets because they're fucked. So I'm going to just take that off, and I've done with it. I'm going to just connect the speaker to these banana plugs here. Just take this old wire off and just because that'll reach to there, and just put them on that and just plug them back in. And the EL84 is good and strong. The rectifier is good and strong. So really, that's all there is. I mean, it's not as bad as I first anticipated. What are the valves in this? I don't know. I've not pulled any of them out. WE series, obviously. There's a power transformer in there, so I might put a 3-core cable on if I can get into there to change it. If I can't, then you know, then because I don't want to risk pulling the knobs off and breaking them. I tried getting a couple off, and you know, they didn't sound very happy. But luckily, this was well designed because they had this plate here, this board here that goes on the back, goes on the bottom rather. So you can actually get to most, you know, it's got a flywheel tuner in this, although it doesn't feel very flywheely now. It's got a weighted tuner, but it doesn't feel very weighted now, obviously. But, you know, yeah. You know, that volume control looks like it's been replaced in the past. We'll give that a spray up. We'll give the selector a spray up, and you know, we'll see where we go from there. But I'm going to call it part 2 at the moment. Part 3, sorry. This has been part 3 of the mouse shit table radiogram belonging to my mate Graham. So I'll phone him up and give him the good news and tell him that it's not terminal. I'm sure he'll be a very happy man, and you know, like I say, I'm not going to replace anything because it ain't broken. Shortwave I'll test when I find a long piece of wire to shove in it, because I couldn't get anything. But then again, there's fuck all on shortwave anyway. There's only really one usable band anyway, and that's medium wave. So you know, this'll. I mean, it needs a lot of cabinet work, whether he wants to go that far with this. I mean, if it was mine, I'd re-veneer it, I really would. You know, I might even purchase it from him and do that if he's interested in going that route. You know, I might just offer him what he paid for it. Although I don't really like doing that, but I'd rather, you know, I might do that because I think that when this is done, it could turn out to be a very nice piece when it's done. And I think it'll come. I think with new veneer on it, you know, I think it would sit very well in my front room. So I might speak to him about that, but you know, failing that, then, you know, if he wants to sell it because he might be able to get more for it, then yeah, that's totally. Or if he thinks he can get more for it, that's totally his decision. But you know, for the most part, it is working, and I will go over it. I will check the values. I will check the values of capacitors and stuff. That'll be in part 4. If I can get the chassis out, I'd like to get the chassis out. If I can get it out without damaging any knobs, then I will. If I can't, then, you know, I might even be able to go in through the record deck compartment to work on the top of the chassis. I'll have to see if I can get the motor board out completely. If I can, then I can remove the lid out of the way. Well, fold the lid back out of the right back out of the way, and take the motor board out if I can, and get to the top of the chassis that way. I just don't want to break his knobs, you know, and the you know, knobs like this, you ain't gonna find them. Anyway, and it's, you know, the front's in not bad condition. A bit of a polish on that, and it'll come up like new, I think. The dial glass is lovely. It's not started to delaminate or anything. You know, it's everything's there that needs to be. You know, and I think it'll make a very nice piece once it's done. Anyway, I'm going to go, folks, because 1, I've come to the end of this video, and 2, I need a crap. I'll catch you later. Bye for now.